Welcome to Small Business Saturdays video series with your host and my husband.
And my dad, Aaron Montgomery.
Join the conversation.
Let's talk some business.
All right, welcome into the broadcast today. My name is Aaron Montgomery, and you can find me at oursuccessgroup.com. And excited to talk to you guys today about giving back and then moving forward. So when we give of ourselves, it allows us to move forward. So coming in on a different day today, and appreciate you guys tuning in live, and looking forward to chatting with the live broadcast folks. But if you are listening to the podcast version, welcome in as well. And so first and foremost today, I just wanted to give a heartfelt and sincere thanks to all of the veterans, both past veterans and those that are currently serving. Everything you've done to give of yourself, to give back, right? To everybody that we have an opportunity to live in this world that we live in today. I think that veterans are just amazing people because they're serving despite the circumstances, right? They're showing up and a lot of times people don't agree with what's going on, things like that, and yet they're there to protect us without us even really knowing about it, right? They're sacrificing time with their family. They're maybe at times sacrificing some of their own personal hopes and dreams, and some veterans even have sacrificed a little bit of their sanity, their mindset, some of the things that they've gone through. And they do that in the name of providing freedoms that we all take for granted. So first and foremost, make sure that you get out there and thank a veteran today and appreciate everything that they've done for you when you didn't even know it, right? Because I wanted to talk about giving back today because that's really a true act of giving back. It really can't be understated how much that means that they do that for us. And beyond that, it's actually one of the many things that I'm really extremely proud of Kylene for. She, for those who don't know, my wife Kylene, for a long time, many years, worked at the Veterans Administration at the VA. She was a vocational rehab counselor, and we don't have a true, real personal connection to veterans. My brother and my father have served, and she's got family members who have served. But she did this as her vocation in a way that just truly showed how much she cared about people and then cared about what their mission is and what they do. She was awarded an award by the DAV organization, which she doesn't talk about a whole lot, but I think she should be very proud of that. And so just days like today, always a great reminder. But regardless of when you're listening to this or when you're catching this, just get out there and thank a veteran. So my hope for today, again, we're coming in on a little different day. It's not Saturday right now, even though we're doing Small Business Saturday. It's on a Friday, and that's okay because we're going to talk about all the same great things. Again, the topic is giving back to move forward, and I'm hopeful for some great live interaction from you guys out there that are tuned in live, because I want to talk about this, right? My real goal for today is, I use this phrase quite often. In fact, Christine Shreve reminded me of it again. It didn't remind me of it, but it came up in an earlier broadcast, in the Two Regular Guys broadcast, that I say a rising tide lifts all boats. And I love that because I know what it means to me. But I was thinking about this, and I was thinking, what does that mean to everybody else? What is a rising tide? And why that lifts all the boats, what does that mean to everyone else? So, and the other thing that kind of brought this topic up for me is we recently had a Two Regular Guys podcast with a gentleman named Jed Seifert with Stakes Manufacturing. And he's talking about inclusion and hiring people with disabilities and just really being a champion for that as far as taking our industry to the next level, right? He says that as a whole, our industry is probably not doing a great job with it yet, but we're getting better every day. And he feels like as an industry, we can be an example of how being inclusive and hiring people with disabilities can be such a great thing for our industry. So, and so it kind of made me think about this, right? So he does it in his company, and it makes a lot of sense for his business, and he shares that, right? And from a straight business perspective, it makes a ton of sense for me. He shared all the benefits of being a part of that. But from a personal perspective, he's got a connection there. He's got a brother who's got disabilities that he was able to provide employment to and saw him grow and all that stuff. And so from just a straight, if you were to just like shut off your empathy, shut off your heart, and go straight business decision, it made a lot of sense. But for him to take it to this next level, right? Where he's out there, he traveled out to Las Vegas to be part of a panel. He's volunteering on all these committees. He gives of himself extremely freely. You can reach out. He gave us all of his information. You could reach out to him super freely, and he's going to help share the details about how he learned to set up that kind of stuff and all of the services that are available out there for you to get that help to be able to hire people with disabilities. And so that made me really start thinking about, like, okay, I get it that he's got a personal connection. I get it that he's got, it makes business sense for him, but to give back at that next level that he's taken it to, again, if we were to just break it down to dollars and cents, it doesn't make sense. Why would he do that, right? And human nature is always so interesting because we're kind of have this push and pull a lot of times when it comes to our human nature, right? We are wired, our internal wiring, we're wired to survive, right? So that sometimes makes us competitive, sometimes makes us want to hoard things. And when we're in that space, we've got this real fixed mindset, right? But we're humans. And so we basically, or almost virtually, have two brains, right? We think that we're just one whole and our brains work together, our subconscious and our conscious brains all work together. But that's really not the case. It's like dealing with two people internally, right? You've got your conscious brain, which a lot of times is what drives that fixed mindset, that competitiveness, that hoarding. And then we've got our subconscious brain, which is kind of our animal instincts. And by kind of having the combination of those two things, that's what made us human. That's what allowed us to become the dominant species on the planet. we do not have a whole lot going for us in a lot of ways compared to other species out there. We're not the fastest, we're not the strongest, and honestly, we're not always the smartest, right? Our brains certainly help a lot, but we developed language and we also developed cooperation. We developed empathy. So even though maybe somebody isn't a direct relation to us, right? Like a direct blood family member, if they're human, we have developed this compassion, this ability to work together, right? So it's that cooperation, it's that teamwork. It's, why just because I like the same sports team as you, we can be just like have things in common, yet we could flip the switch and maybe we have a disagreement on something else. And right. So we're able to balance that out. We can come together as one to overcome the big challenges. So that's really where this started, and what I wanted to talk about. But like I said, I really am hoping to hear from you guys. What does a rising tide lift all boats mean to you? Again, I know what it means for me, and I'm certainly going to share that. But I'd first love to know what that means for you. And I also want to then just talk about, right, how to separate or how to kind of look at the big picture of the dollars and cents kind of side of this, right? When we're giving back, when we're helping others, when we're lifting each other up, when we're doing things that, again, if I were to just put it on paper and make it a spreadsheet, you guys know I love spreadsheets, but if I were to go, this amount of time, and what do I see on the other side of it that brings that back to me, right? And so, but then also just thinking about that from a more holistic approach, and then tying that back into our businesses. But like, does it make sense? And it might not necessarily make sense. Like, one of the things that I think about is like this whole idea of helping others with things that I've learned, right? Could I not just hold on to those things and that be my secret weapon? Yeah, but is it really that secret, right? And wouldn't it be better if I were to just share that out there, and then they would share something, and then we share, and this is what happens, right? So I'm getting into my definition of a rising tide lifts all boats, but I think it all underlies the underlying principle, fundamental, foundation, whatever you want to call it. The underlying thing is we have to get ourselves to an abundance mindset. And I think that's where the real return on investment is, right? If we can have that abundance mindset, we might not be able to see it directly. We might not know how exactly. But if you have enough belief in that abundance mindset, the things will show up when they need to, right? Because everything we look back on in our lives, every bit of hindsight, we can find value in everything, even the things that seemed really crummy. If you are willing to look for it, you will find what value, what growth, what strength, what ability you gained from that opportunity. So let's take that and mix that into what it means to be a business owner, and then how that all works together, right? So we're talking about some pretty high level concepts, kind of personal, almost interpersonal concepts. But as a small business owner, this is really important to understand, because we have to, right? We're almost forced to, because we don't have the massive resources available to us that maybe a large corporation or a big company or government or whatever has available to them. So we have to do with what we've got. And if we feel like we only have this much, that's all we're going to do. We're only going to do this much. But if we have an abundance mindset and that we've got everything that we need, guess what? We're going to do everything we need to do to be successful. So as I wait for you guys that are tuned in live right now, and I see there's some live folks, so homework starts now. Start typing in there, what does a rising tide lifts all boats mean to you? All right? What does a rising tide, this statement, a rising tide lifts all boats, what does that mean to you? And then the other thing that I'd like to discuss, and I'm happy to hear your feedback on this as well, but why does it matter? Right? Okay, it means something to you, but why? Why does it matter? So if you guys have listened to me at all for a long enough period of time, I've kind of made it my superpower, I guess. I don't know. I feel it's a superpower. My wife feels like it's annoying, but I question questions, right? Somebody asks me a question, and more often than not, I do not reply with an answer. I reply with another question, looking for clarity, looking for, right? Because I want to give the best answer I can give. And so, that's why so I just want to do that. I just want to dig deeper, right? I want to answer the question, and I want to go, well, why is that the answer? And keep going deeper, right? It's the 5 whys, the Toyota 5 whys thing. You can look that up if you haven't already heard about that. It's a way that they kind of figure out their processes, something they developed back in the 1930s, and it's called the 5 whys. So look that up. But Nathan, I see you here. Let's get this up here. Nathan says, part of it's gratitude, knowing that a lot of people have given knowledge and time for me freely, and so the least I can do is give of myself as well. I love that. That's really, really well said, Nathan, and I think that's huge. So again, going back to that theme, let me question that, right? Okay, so a lot of people have given knowledge, and so it's the least you can do. Okay, where does that sensation come from? That least I can do is give of myself as well. And for those of you who don't know Nathan, he's very giving, somebody that helps a ton of people all the time, and just a really encouraging guy, but also just super free with the information and knowledge that he has, and he's got a lot of it. So, Nathan, I ask you that question as let's just keep that going, right? So, why is that the least you can do? What? Again, not looking for what it is, the value that comes from it, but from a bigger perspective, does it check a box internally? Does it make you feel good? Does it encourage you more? That kind of thing. So just keep rolling with that. Tanya, I agree. She says, love that, Nathan. Tanya says, to me, it is collaboration with others and the fact that there is enough room at the table for everyone. I try very hard to also gravitate towards people who have a positive attitude and willing to work together. All right. That's awesome. Tanya, that's perfect. In fact, I'm going to toss that back up there just to leave it up for people to read if you're just tuned in. So I also gravitate towards people who have a positive attitude and are willing to work together, right? And so again, let's take that a little bit deeper, but I love that statement there, because here's the other side of it, right? So we're looking at the positivity, the benefits of giving back, right? But there's also, everything's got a light and a dark side. Whether we like it or not, it's the reality of the world. There's a light and a dark, a good and a bad, right? And all that stuff. So a lot of times, though, we find ourselves getting sucked in to the world of the takers, right? What's in it for me? What's in it for me? What's in it for me? But they also tend to be the loudest, right? They're the ones that always need something, and therefore they're super loud about it. And so we have to consciously make sure that we're gravitating, we're intentionally being part of groups and people and supporting and growing people that are, giving of themselves as well. Because I think the other side of this, right, is when we're giving, that's one thing. But I think the mistake that a lot of us make, me included, so I'm not throwing any stones at anyone here, I'm speaking of myself at times as well, is we get ourselves stuck in that trap of, okay, I'll do this, I expect this in return. And then when that doesn't happen, then we don't feel good about it, we stop giving, and then we start having that closed mindset. I found myself there more often than I'd like. And so being able to have these conversations and put this stuff out there is important for me as well, because it makes me go, okay, I got to remember this, right? I got to remember that. So I love that. Gravitate towards people who have a positive attitude and are willing to work together, right? And I think, just taking that one step further, then we also have to make sure that we're very cognizant of not no, that's not the right word. So not what I wanted to go with. That we are keeping arm's length from the folks that don't have that abundance mindset, right? Where there's always something wrong in their world and that kind of thing. And we can encourage them and lift them up, but we can't be drugged down by them, right? So if a rising tide lifts all boats, a lowering tide also lowers all boats, right? So we have to be aware of that. So, Here we go. Nathan says, predominantly it gets the focus off myself, focus on the abundance around me and not focus on myself and my problems. Mostly I find that my problems are not as significant as I thought. I can reach a state of optimism and I can help someone else. That's so cool. See, and he was able to go deeper with it. I knew he would. That's why I threw it out there. And Tanya, I'd love to hear any feedback also on some of the things I was saying there too. But okay, so let's talk about this real quick, Nathan, then. Perspective, right? Perspective is always so interesting. It's the hindsight, it's the looking back, and I think this can be really powerful for business owners to think about too, right? Just think about like, oh, this thing that happened, woe is me. You kind of, again, when we get in that state of not optimism, of negativity, think about what we accomplish in that. Nothing. Right? We don't go anywhere. A lot of times we want to hide. A lot of times we're mad. A lot of times we make bad decisions, those kinds of things. But I would really argue vehemently with somebody that wants to tell me that when I'm in a state of optimism, when I'm in a state of gratitude and positivity, that I am not growing, right? That I'm not moving forward. It's, you know what? I'm going to make a strong statement. It's impossible to not grow and do more for yourself and the world around you when you are in the state of optimism and positivity, right? So just think about that, right? And I know that's a bold statement, and I'm sure people would maybe not 100% agree with that, and that's okay. I'm okay with that. I'm willing to have that conversation, but you'd be hard pressed to change my mind on that. All right, so love it. Nathan, thank you so much. Thank you guys for being a part of that. So I said I would tell you what it means for me, and I think you guys have kind of covered it pretty well. But I'll share what my thoughts are. Is a rising tide lifts all boats means to me that, well, okay, let me go back. So I heard this statement, and this statement has always kind of stuck with me. A gentleman who I met a couple years back, we were talking about doing something together, and I'm the type of person that really wants to make sure that I'm providing a lot of value when I ask for something, right? I have to make sure that it just totally makes sense for them. And he was going to basically came on this program. Actually, you can go back and look up Dale Fertlinger. I think it was about 3 years ago or so. He joined me. And I said, hey, Dale, I really appreciate you doing this. What is it that I can do for you? Can I share something? What would you like? And he made this like really just quick statement. He didn't even think about it. It just came directly out of his mouth the second I stopped talking. He said, I've discovered that you can't outgive the universe. And like, it just floored me. And that was where kind of I latched onto this rising tide lifts all boats thing, because I knew in my heart that was true. I can't outgive the universe. So as long as I'm giving, the world around me is giving back, right? Not in I'm waiting for something specific, but what I need is going to show up when I need it, as long as I keep moving forward, right? I keep kind of rising the tide. So that's what it means to me. You can't outgive the universe. So why try? And if we want growth, we want abundance, we want positivity, we want joy, we want happiness in all that we do, business and otherwise, then let's just do that. And again, there's always light and dark in everything, but you can still find the positives in the dark, right? And that's the interesting part about, I think, just human nature, but also about running a business, right? It's not rainbows and ponies every day, right? You all know that. Anybody who's tried to find inventory lately, it's not all rainbows and ponies. Anybody that's had a customer that was upset, and if you've done any bit of business, you've had something that didn't go well. So it's not always rainbows and ponies, but in every single one of those negative interactions, or what we perceive as a negative interaction, there is something positive to be found. So it's that silver lining. All right, Tanya, let's see what you got here. I've been thinking a lot about the takers and how they affect me. I used to have a tendency to get sucked into the drama because I was going to fix it. Oh, I love it. Hey, yes. Hey, you and me, we're teammates in that. Now I'm very aware of when I'm going down that road. I will be kind. I will cheerlead to a point, but some people won't see things the way I do either. And that's okay. right? Sorry, I added the last part, but wow, I love it. That's so good. That's so good because we can get sucked into that. And again, you're not like doing the cheerleading, being there, supporting what makes sense for you is important, but then surrounding yourself with people that, again, one of the things that's really important to me is to try to make sure that I'm doing the things that I say I'm going to do. And I get it 100% right? Not at all, but I try to fess up and, admit it and try to atone for those mistakes as quickly as I can. And so when I am involved with somebody that doesn't do what they say they're going to do, right? They don't hold up their end of the bargain. It really hurts me, right? But I've found that the way to deal with that is not to be upset, to try to be passive aggressive, to, all of these coping mechanisms that I used to have that still show up sometimes. I can't say I'm a work in progress, I think, just like everybody. So I love the fact that we're looking at that. And again, if you're new to Small Business Saturday, maybe you're catching the podcast version right now, you're going, how does this have anything to do with my business? Your business is, if you are a small business owner, your business needs to be part of that balanced life if you truly want success, right? Because I know several people that have had very, quote unquote, from the outside looking in, successful businesses, and they've been miserable. I am not interested in supporting that. If you just want to go make a bunch of money and put people down, and that's fine. That's your deal. You're not going to find that here at Small Business Saturday. You're not going to find that at our success group. It's about the holistic side of how we can grow together. And I think talking about some of these concepts is really important for a business owner because we don't always have that, right? If you work somewhere, you've got that water cooler. If you're in, so we have to find some of that outside stuff. But if we can also learn a little bit about business at the same time, I think that's huge. So that's where the rising tide comes in. All right. So we've got that. I wanted this to be somewhat short and sweet too, because I do know we're on a Friday afternoon and there's other things coming up here and you got to get to that. But the last part about this is to really kind of tie in what I was just talking about. Why is this good for business, right? The title was Giving Back to Move Forward. And so with that being said, let's just kind of wrap with this. And again, if you guys have other things, I'm happy to go down that for a bit. But why is this good for business? Well, a business is very much about cycles. Right? It's very much about, you think about maybe even just in your marketing, what you're sowing today, so to speak. You're using a farming term. What you're putting out there, what you're putting into your fields today, and then tending for over time, will be what you are reaping in the future. But what you are reaping today was something that you sowed, or you put into the earth, you nurtured prior to today. So if this current moment right now is a little bit barren and there's not a lot to reap right now, the only thing you can do, I mean, there are a lot of things you can do. The only thing you should do is look back at where you were not reaping, where you were not giving back, where you were not lifting others up before, and say, okay, now I am aware of that. It's an awareness now, and I can make a different decision next time. Therefore, later on in the cycle, I won't have that barren spot, right? And the same thing goes with everything in our business, right? What were you reaping? What were you putting out there? I mean, we can talk a lot about the nuts and bolts of marketing and getting the right message, but at the end of the day, marketing is really about what problem do you solve for your customers? What is it that makes somebody want to give of what they have back to you? And in a business scenario, that's money, right? I have money in my wallet. They have a thing that I want or need. So that's the problem. I have a want or a need that I cannot fulfill myself. Therefore, I need somebody else to fulfill that for me. I have a want or a need to give a gift. I have a want or a need to outfit my team so we look good. I have a want or a need to insert here, right? Tanya, great example, right? People have a want or a need for really cool artwork, and they might not be able to do that. Tanya is able to do that. That's her gift, so she shares that with the world, right? Nathan, a lot of the same things, right? Amazing at his craft. You want some of the best screen printing you'll ever get? Nathan's your guy, right? And he will help you out, and he will solve that problem for you, and he will take care of you in a lot of different ways. So that's at the end of the day all what it's about. But that's a cycle, right? That didn't happen overnight. It just didn't turn on and go, okay, I'm here, turn it on, and it's going to happen. It's about a cycle. So I think that's where we have to kind of understand when we're talking about a abundance mindset, the moments when we get out of it, the moments when we're not optimistic, the moments when we're feeling closed off, overly competitive, overly, I don't know, hoarding is a word that comes to mind, right? In a supply chain issue world that we're in right now, I can understand that, right? I got to make sure I've got enough of what I need out there, just in case, right? I don't want to lose that potential business because I don't have what I need. Well, but if that's at the detriment of everybody else, think of the great toilet paper shortage back in COVID times, right? The people that had they probably still have toilet paper 2 years later that they haven't used, and they're probably now feeling the effects of that, right? And so just remember that, right? So it's about finding that balance. It's about finding the right balance of the cycle so we can keep ourselves right above the success line, right? So there's a line here, and as long as we're making enough steps, right? It's okay if we go below it every once in a while. You're not going to have an abundance mentality every single day. You have to be pretty darn enlightened to be able to do that. And I know for me personally, I'm not there yet. Will I get there? I hope so. I believe I can, but I know that there's plenty of times where I struggle with that. My wife could attest to that probably on a daily basis. No comments, Kylene. So that's, to me, the tie-in back to why is this good, right? It's about that cycle. It's about sowing the seeds today so that you can reap those benefits in the future. And then back to my whole kind of quick definition of what does a rising tide lifts all boats mean? And that is, you can't outgive the universe. So whatever you're putting into it, you're going to get back. So, and the same thing goes, if you're putting a lot of negativity, a lot of, competition, over competition, worrying about what's in it for you, then the universe is going to stop. The universe will give you that, right? It's going to give you more competition. It's going to give you more, you need to be looking out for yourself because that's all you're concerned with, right? It's going to give you more of that negativity. So I think as a business, that's as important as it is in our personal lives to make sure that our mindset is in the right place. So you're welcome, Tanya, by the way. Saw the comment there. Awesome. Okay, everybody. Well, that is what I have for you today. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Hopefully that's some good information that'll take you into your weekend here. And I want to see next week I will be back. I promised you guys the overcoming perfectionism last week, and I just had some things come up that I was not able to pull that off, so I apologize for not coming through on that, but I will come through. So next Saturday, we are going to be talking about overcoming perfectionism, and I am really looking forward to having that discussion. I know I've heard a lot of comments that people could really use that, and so I'm hoping to be able to share some tips with you. I know I'm looking forward to researching it a little bit more and making sure that I've got all the tips that are needed, because I have that same thing, right? We got to get it exactly right. How many hours have we spent tweaking something where at what point is the rate of return just not there? So that's what we're going to be talking about next week, and looking forward to having that conversation with you. But until then, you have a great rest of your weekend.